Right, we are live.
Okay, hi. Welcome to our Atheist Republic Hangout. This is an admin edition where we are going to be asking questions gathered by our group for the past 2 weeks. We're really excited. We've got a few people here already. Hopefully, we're expecting a few more people soon. So, let's see, we've got Willie, we've got Miguel, we have Armin, and who else is here? Hi. Okay, I'm going to start off asking a series of questions. Everyone's going to get a chance to give an answer, it looks like, with the group we have here. The first one is going to be a funny one that we have. A lot of these questions we get asked all the time. And the first one is, why does everyone hate Derek so much? Willie.
For starters, he never turns up. Where the hell is he? I just messaged him and told him to get in here. Why does everybody hate Derek? We don't really hate Derek. We just pretend to hate Derek because it for some reason that seems to turn him on. He seems to quite like it, and plus it makes Kylie happy if we all hate him.
Wait,
Good response, yeah.
You don't actually hate Derek? That's not right.
That was what we were supposed to say, wasn't it? We were supposed to say that we didn't hate Derek. No? Oh, we're being truthful. Yeah, we do hate Derek. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we do. We hate him. Hate him terribly. He's horrible. He's from Canada. We think he smells, but none of us have ever got close enough to him. And the things he does to cakes are just absolutely vile. Yeah. That's basically it. We hate him.
Well, I actually saw him in person a few days ago, and I can tell you everything they say about him is true.
Yes.
Right.
He's also freakishly tall as well.
Yeah, what a shame he's not here to defend himself. How terrible.
Okay. So now everyone knows why we hate Derek. Let's move on to a serious question. How to differentiate between actual science and pseudoscience. Miguel, I think that one's really good for you. How do you differentiate between the two?
Well, for starters, it's generally the nature of the claim itself. Usually the claim is something along the lines of, wouldn't it be great if there was such a thing, or do you believe in ghosts? Lots of people have seen ghosts, and they say that they saw them and it was true. Therefore, there might be ghosts. You can't prove that there aren't ghosts. Therefore, it's just a matter of opinion. And at which point, I just want to reach into the monitor and hurt people because it's just such a nonsensical claim. And it's just quite often the claim just goes against everything we know to be true about the universe, and you just know from the moment that you see the link that somebody's posted, it'll be from something like spiritscience.com, which just immediately makes you roll your eyes because you know exactly what sort of nonsense it's going to be, and it's always some sort of claim that something that you'd like to be true might be true, therefore it is true, and I'm going to go with it being as if it's true because that makes me happy to think it might be true, rather than something that actually, sometimes it's, I mean, actual science quite often is uncomfortable. You find out something that's true that makes you really uncomfortable because it kind of is counterintuitive, or it feels really threatening. Like it's kind of threatening that global temperatures are rising and sea levels are rising, and it makes us feel uncomfortable, and we don't actually want that to be true because it's such a horrible thing. Does that make sense? I mean, I feel like I'm rambling now almost.
No, it does make sense. And along those same lines, something that I saw whenever I first joined our group a lot was how coconut oil can cure cancer, or the same thing with apple cider vinegar. And those claims, you know, it makes us feel comfortable, like kind of like you were saying, makes us feel comfortable about death, about dying. You know, oh, I'm going to be okay if I stick with this because this is the real answer, when it's really not. And something that started when I first joined the group was putting onions on your feet. It was a really weird article. And I actually last week saw it cycle back around. So I thought that was pretty cool. 2 years ago when I first joined the group, here we were talking about onions on your feet and how it's supposed to give you all this health, and now it was back. So kind of cool.
Yeah, I think my alarm bell rings whenever I see a claim. My alarm bell immediately rings if it confirms my bias. If it actually makes me, if it's confirming something that I already kind of believe is true, but sort of maybe for shaky reasons, it's just something that I'd like to be true. The instant a claim says that, I go and immediately start fact checking it, because I'm thinking, well, if I want this to be true and it's not true, I'm going to look like a complete idiot if I go along with it is being true. Now, sometimes that claim is true, but more often than not, as soon as that alarm bell starts ringing of this is telling me something I want to hear, I immediately start to think, check that, check that, check that, check it now. And yeah, I mean, there's stuff like onions on your feet, or the one that seems to always set people off is anything about cannabis oil. That seems to really confirm people's biases. There are a lot of people that really, really want cannabis to be this cure-all for everything. And while it may well have medicinal value, some of the claims are way, way, way out there, but people so desperately want it to be true that they get very, very angry if you just raise an eyebrow and just go, are you sure? Have you got any actual facts on this? Or are we in the I don't really know category and we just leave it there? So people get very emotionally invested in pseudoscience if it confirms what they want to believe, and that's kind of why I get so wound up about it sometimes, and look like I'm being quite brutal with people sometimes when we're in discussions, because people just aren't reasonably discussing the issue. They're just having an emotional reaction to the fact that you don't believe them and you don't take what they say at face value and go, are you fact checking this? Are you sure?
Right, absolutely. Willie, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, I was just thinking that to me the big marker for pseudoscience is that it attacks real science. Usually, if not straight out the gate, it's like the first defense is to go to this conspiracy theory about what they say and how the establishment or the authority on whatever the subject is, you know, the big stuff like GMO or the ones that a lot of, you know, anti-vax, things like that, the first thing they have to do is attack real science. And that's a pretty obvious thing when they're doing it. So it's anytime I hear something like that that starts towards a conspiracy theory, blaming of or accusing of broad groups of people and institutions, then I start automatically thinking we're probably dealing with a pseudoscience claim here.
Yeah, it's very, very true. Looks like we have Andrew joining us now, which is awesome. Hi, Andrew. And so he's here just in time. Someone wants to know why Andrew Wigington's nose is so perfect.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. It's actually a really great day here. The weather is pretty awesome. So I was out buying a grill. Kind of lost track of time. So why is my nose so perfect? So the Pro AR is actually the second version of a really ugly picture that I used the first time around. And it was basically just me Googling images for troll, and those were the two images that came up. So I kept those both, and that's what I used. So that's my answer to why the nose is so perfect. Someone else drew it for me. But yeah, wish I had a better story for that, but that's what it is.
The artist rendition is better, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to hop on to another serious question. One that I pulled off the list. I thought was really awesome. It's by Joel Shipp. If you could snap your fingers and change one thing about AR, what would it be and why? And Willie, let's start with you on that one.
Sorry, I've got a text here that says someone can't see it as what they're trying to watch this, and they can't because it's a black noise that says this video is private.
Oh.
So I don't know what that means. And I wasn't listening to the question because I can only do one thing.
No, that's totally fine. If you could snap your fingers and change one thing about AR, what would it be and why?
Derek.
I think I would like to see AR be more like, Derek. I would like to see AR be more like ARM, but with the activity and the participation of AR. I find it disappointing that the only reason we can get any large amount of activity and enthusiasm is over selfies and silly stuff instead of people getting engaged and excited about the stuff that I'm excited about, which is learning and actually instead of sitting there arguing positions that they've had all their lives and being unwilling to pick up what's being put down, we just sit there and have these endless circular arguments about the same thing over and over, and it needs to happen for people to get there, but I would like to see us have a more genuine interest in things other than the silly, frivolous stuff. That's what I'd change.
Yeah, definitely. Miguel, what would you change?
Give me a second, sorry, I was trying to find the microphone switch. I think the thing that I'd probably change would be stupid trend type things where one person posts a silly post, and in isolation it's just a silly post and everybody gets silly about it, but then somebody thinks, oh, I want some attention for this as well, that person got loads of likes, so I'll post the same thing but just slightly change the wording, and then people bandwagon off it, and before you know it you've got people actually effectively just thinking this place is shit and leaving the group because of a few people just basically not being able to stick to replying in one thread. Also, I think Andrew will probably nod furiously when I say this, is this stupid stuff like endlessly posting maths problems where it's a controversy about how some people prefer to work sums out from left to right and ignore priority of operations, and other people want to follow priority of operations, and they argue endlessly over what the result of a maths problem is. And one person posts it, and then everybody thinks, oh, I can have controversy off this and have 300 replies on my post. And it's all just people saying 8, no 3, no 8, no 3, fuck you 8, no 3, no you're an asshole, I said 3, no 8. And that adds no value to the group. And people coming into the group, new to the group, will come in and just look at the group and think, what the hell is this place? And just turn around and walk back out again. Because they're not seeing anything that they can engage with. So while we have a principle of anything goes and you can post anything you like, sometimes it is just teeth-gnashingly irritating when you just look at the page and just think, what the hell have I just walked into? How far do I have to scroll before I find something that's even remotely interesting? And that's got 10 replies. But we all feel that, and it's just the nature of the internet.
Definitely. Andrew, do you have anything you would change?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with everything everyone said. I mean, there's a lot of really silly stuff that gets posted in the group, and I kind of wish I didn't have to wade through it every time I logged in. I'd also probably boot a lot more people than we do. You know, if AR was my group and I could set the rules, I'd be much more of a tyrant, much more of a dictator. But that's just me. That's just me trying to form a group that, you know, I would be interested in engaging in, and that might actually end up being a really boring group. I mean, you look at ARM, You know, and all complaints that you tend to hear about the AR private group, that it's it's asinine, and topics being, and selfie trends and all that. And we created a group where that stuff isn't allowed, and it's definitely not as active as they are. And so a part of me is always conscious of that. But if I did have the option, I'd probably be a bit more hardline about trends like selfie and all those silly things that crop up every once in a while. But again, there's something to be said about allowing that, because people enjoy those kind of things. You see a lot more traction on threads that are selfie threads, and so I think that's saying something, which we might not like, but is an attraction of the group to some people, maybe to the vast majority. I don't know. But yeah, so I definitely agree with everything everyone said. I mean, there are a lot of things that I would be a bit more hardline on. But maybe that would be the wrong approach as well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really good. And I tend to agree with you guys on that. The next question we have is kind of personal. Looks like Naomi Bo wanted to know if any admins were single. That I don't know the answer to. I don't. I know we all spend so much time together, and we are all talking about so many different aspects of our lives. But there are a few people I just don't know about, and I think everyone knows that I'm crazy in love with Dan Savage from AR. So I'm not single. Andrew, what about you?
It's complicated. But on the upside, I now know how to pronounce your boyfriend's name, which I had no idea how to. I always read it as Djan, so thanks. But yeah, so the answer to that question is it's complicated. Sorry.
All right, and Mattel, what about you?
I'm very boringly married for 24 years and no plans to get split up, so sorry guys, I'm afraid all that flirting is just fake. I'm just a completely boring, sad, married old guy.
Right, and we all know that Willie is with Stephanie, who he also met in AR, so it's a lot of fun, really cute. And I don't know about the rest. I know Chrissy is in a relationship. I think that Sean is as well. I know Lee is in a relationship. Jim is married, and Jeff is married. And I don't know if anyone is actually single on our admin list. Armin is definitely married, gorgeous wife. So we're gonna move on to another serious question here. It looks like Bob Nickel wanted to know what are the favorite YouTube channels of the AR team members on atheism, skepticism, and science? Anyone want to go on that?
I'll jump right in here and say that I actually don't watch any YouTube channels on atheism, skepticism. Oh well, there's the Atheist Experience. I enjoy that channel, although sometimes I find it a bit harsh. The way they deal with people that call. But then again, if you're getting calls from people like that day in, day out, I can understand why you veer away from being politically correct at times. But that's pretty much the only channel that I watch on a semi-regular basis. Otherwise, when I'm on YouTube, it's either music or Judge Judy or something silly like that. But yeah, so that's me.
Just bear with me for a second.
Anyone else?
Bear with me for a second. I'm just.
Let's get your answer to that.
Yeah, you. What's yours, Ali? Ali, what's yours?
Well, if Ali doesn't.
Yeah, Atheist Experience is the only one. I guess Dark Matter. I watch a lot of his cartoon things as well.
Right, I mean, I tend to watch quite a few of them. The one that I tend to refer to an awful lot is Quality of Soup, which I use a great deal for if people are struggling with how to form arguments or they're trying to understand what I mean by, say, I'd say to somebody, well, you're arguing from ignorance, or you're the way that you're actually justifying what you believe in is deeply flawed, I'll quite often put something up like, look, you're shifting the burden of proof. Here's what the burden of proof actually is. This is why the person who makes a claim has a burden of proof. And the video works really well. Dark matter, really enjoy dark matter. There's also a really, really good one called Non-Stamp Collector that I would strongly advise anybody to look at, because they are hilarious. But man, that person hits the nail on the head with his satire. He's really, really good. So that's Non-Stamp Collector. There's absolutely loads of them on there. They look really low quality because he made a point of using MS Paint for a lot of his videos, but they are brilliant. There you go.
Can I speak? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a channel called Portholler54 on YouTube. He uploads only once in a while, but his videos are actually very good. Most of them are debunking pseudoscience. Mostly he uploaded a video a couple of days ago on how to distinguish pseudoscience from science, which is quite relevant to the first question asked here. And there are a couple of other channels like Corrodence and as Michael said before, Arguing from Ignorance is quite a good channel. So I'd recommend watching Portholler54's videos. They're very good.
Cool.
Okay, thank you for adding that. Another question that even us as admins ask ourselves is, how do we define trolling? And when I think about trolling, I think about, and Andrew and I have actually gotten into this before, if you're being purposely defiant, purposely oppositional, I guess, to somebody's stance just to irk them, you don't actually believe the opposite, you just want to fight, I would define that as trolling. If you take it to an obvious level. Trolling can also be, you know, you get on a thread and you start flaming people. I think that trolling is so vast, and it's one of our rules. It says no trolling, but there's no definitive answer to what trolling is. So what we do as admins is, if I, for instance, think that somebody is trolling, I might go into our admin chat and say, hey guys, can you look at this thread? Because I want to make sure that I'm making the right choice and that we all kind of collaborate, so that way in the future we can all kind of have the same idea of what trolling is. But does anybody have a better explanation or definition of what trolling is?
I won't say I have a better one. I think that was a great definition. What I will say is that, and to your point, because the definition is so vast, I think on occasion, you know, posts that I make or comments that I make on threads could be defined as trolling as well. You know, so if I get into an argument with somebody or a discussion or whatever, and you know, and I get frustrated and I feel like they're being obtuse on purpose, and you know, it drags on after a while, I on occasion revert to just being sarcastic, you know, just taking his position or her position and just being you know, just not being constructive, rather. So there are occasions where, because the definition is so vast, even myself as an admin, I won't speak for anybody else, could be seen as trolling someone. But I think it boils down to, you know, do I get into the discussion with that intent? One, two, did I make a genuine effort to actually have a conversation with this person? And three, was this person receptive to what I was saying at all? Was he willing or she willing to have a conversation? And so if I've satisfied the first two and I feel like the person hasn't satisfied the third, then I feel a bit more justified. But that's something I need to apply to members, right? So when I'm looking at a member and I'm reading a thread, I'll go through that filtering process as well. Did one side of the discussion try to satisfy the first two criteria, the ones that I would apply to myself, and did the other person actually try or not satisfy the third as well? And and that's kind of how I tend to look at it. I apply the same reasoning I would apply to myself. But again, much like Ali said, it's very difficult, and you tend to know it when you see it. And the benefit of having so many admins and the council is that there's always a check and balance. So I might think someone is trolling, someone else might not think they're trolling, and it's just a matter of us having that discussion later on. Granted, we've been working together for so long, we kind of all somewhat see things somewhat similarly, which is a good thing and a bad thing, right? So sometimes we might just all agree that something's trolling and it's not, but it's just that we've kind of gotten used to the way each other think, which is where the council kicks in, because they're much closer to the members. I mean, they take the time to actually go through the thread and they'll discuss it. That's what they're there to do for the most part. So I think we're safe on trolling, and I do agree with Ali. I think the definition is way too large for us to actually, set something in stone, and that's a problem, of course. Much like the definition of anything subjective can be a problem. But I think we navigate it well. I'm fairly comfortable with how we deal with trolling. I don't know how the rest of you feel. Interested to hear what you guys think, though.
The classic definition of trolling is putting out bait for people to bite, and that's kind of the way I tend to look at it. I think it's from spending so much time online in social networking and having, you kind of know it when, it's like Andrew said, you know it when you see it. If somebody's starts a thread that's deliberately trying to just basically rustle everybody's jimmies, it's trying to get people to be angry with the person that's just posted it. They'll deliberately post an opinion that you're fairly certain they don't really hold, and then as the thread develops, it's pretty obvious that the person is shifting the position constantly to try to keep people stoked, and often to the point where they're virtually contradicting the original post. They're just basically winding people up, and you tend to spot that. You tend to notice it. There tends to be a lot of passive aggressiveness to it. And when that person's challenged, they play the victim so quickly. They really do. As soon as an admin voice comes in, they've got the patter. They've already got a script in their head of what they're going to say when the question of, aren't you being a bit of an asshole? And they'll just reel stuff off. And after a bit, you just get to recognize the script. And it's just an instinct. And then like Andrew said, then there's a point where we'll go into the admin chat and go, this person's really riling me up. Are they trolling? Or is it just me? So yeah, I mean, I'm with Andrew on that. I think we know it when we see it, and we're pretty good at getting it right.
All right, yeah. Another one, Miguel, since you're already speaking, someone wanted to know why you're so awesome.
Some say it's nature, some say it's nurture, some say it's practice. I really don't know. It's something that you can't help. It's a burden, it's a gift. I really don't know. I try to be humble about it, but as you can see, I'm struggling. Go on then, everybody else tell me why I'm so awesome.
Well, I'll give a good answer to that. I think the reason why everyone thinks Miguel is so awesome is because Miguel will put us in our place immediately. It doesn't matter who you are, so if you need to be put in your place, Miguel will do it. And it's kind of cool when Miguel agrees with you or likes your comments, and everyone always gets excited. So another funny question that is my question is, if my hair and Willie's beard got into a fight, who would win?
Yeah, I'm with Willie's beard on this one.
Something you can't help. It's a burden, it's a gift.
Of course you're with Willie's beard.
I try to be humble about it, but as you can see, I'm struggling.
What is that?
Whoa! That was me playing back. What's going on?
I think Crizzy's on a bit of a loop, so I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, I think we're kind of a little glitchy right now, and that's okay. Crizzy, can you hear us?
I think Ali's hair would win eventually. I think she'd just wear Willie's beard out. Willie's beard would come in all pumping iron and all full of aggression and everything, and Ali would just sit there just going, yeah, but I'm cute, until Willie just like ran out of steam, and just Ali's hair would then get him by the throat, and that would be that, and poor Willie would be dead.
Agreed. That's exactly how it would happen. And another funny question, because we're on a roll. Chrissy, can you hear us? Can you see everything?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me or what. So.
Yeah, we can hear
you. Great.
Put your sideways.
Put your camera around though.
Yeah, I'll fix it. Sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. Happy you're here to answer some of these questions with us. So I'm going to hop on to, another really good one asked by Fanshawn was, are you involved in other areas of AR, or are you just an admin?
Ali, I think you should start with this one.
Okay. I am involved in other areas of AR. I love AR. AR is my life. So I've done some blogging. I run the AR support group, which is really awesome. I know that I've been posting that a lot in all of our different groups that we have, but our support group basically gives you like a one-on-one friend to kind of help you with moral support, research on what you need to do for asylum assistance, things of that nature. So we're actually doing really, really great. We've been getting a lot of really positive experiences with this. We've been getting a lot of requests. It's been awesome. So so I do that. And I also help the translation team stay motivated. I love the translation team. They're awesome. And just little things here and there.
Could you tell us what languages content is being translated into?
Oh goodness, like everything. We've got German, Spanish, Arabic, Portuguese. Yeah, just so many different languages.
Okay, cool. I'll answer the question as well. I'm not particularly involved in anything beyond the group. Occasionally, I'll head to the page. And Ali, I'd definitely like to get in on the support group if you'll have me. I'd love to do some of that.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Yeah, and in our last hangout, once we went offline, we were discussing, possibly writing, writing a book or writing a short story or something. And so I think I might get involved in that. I don't know if you'd consider that being another aspect of AR, although it would be if it were published through AR. So that's me. That's the sum total of where I stand in AR.
Okay, Chrissy, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
Yep.
we can. Hi.
I'm so sorry. I don't know how to figure out Hangouts on my phone, so.
No, that's okay. I'm so happy to see you. So I've got a question for you. That's kind of funny. If our AR admins were to play the Hunger Games, who would win?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it's going to be a tie between Miguel or Derek. Everybody loves Derek and Miguel. We know that.
That's very true. It's very true. All right.
I'm sorry.
No. Fine. Let's see. I've got so many questions here, so I really want to get to all of them. Were you raised religious? So that's something that I talk about a lot. Yes, I was raised religious, and that's something that kind of stuck with me for a very long time. And I have a lot of different stories about that. I could go on forever, but I was raised religious, and obviously I'm not religious anymore. I'm a strong advocate against religion in general, so that's me. And what about you, Chrissy?
I was actually born and raised religious, but ever since I was a kid, I just never believed that a God exists. For some reason, I don't know why. I just started questioning it, and I just never found myself believing. And there came a time in my life where I thought I'd be joining religious groups or events that it might help me believe in God, because my mom always keeps telling me that my faith must have been weak, so I need to budget a bit, but it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, and we find that for a lot of people that I've heard through AR is just faith didn't work for them. And that came from a lot of different aspects of what faith teaches, especially in the Bible Belt, you know. We hate everybody who's not like us. If you're not our religion, then you might as well be an atheist because you're going to hell. And if you're gay, you have no hope in the world. So there's so many different, you know, things that just put people off to religion, and I think, you know, we definitely do hear that a lot. What about you, Miguel?
Yeah, got it. Yeah, it's sort of yes and no. My family were never religious at all, but English schools at the time I was growing up were very sort of like they just automatically assumed you were Christian, and assemblies were Christian, and so I had a very sort of strange upbringing where it was assumed that everybody believed in Jesus, but then I didn't believe in any of it. I've still no idea whether my mum really believes in Jesus or not. We sort of were dragged to church when I was in Scouts, which I hated, but that gave me a good appreciation of what religion actually is. But I just sat there basically making mental notes of how stupid it was, and being quite grumpy about it. And just kind of grew up and found out when my nana died that my dad was quite the atheist, really, when you get right down to it, and she had a very secular funeral, as you know, because of the article I wrote, and then you springboarded off on the AR group.
Okay, Andrew, what about you?
I was definitely not raised religious. So it's a long story, but I'll try and keep it short. My parents it was a mixed marriage, so they both came from very different religions, both Abrahamic religions, but you know, on polar opposites. And they were in a country where, by virtue of having been in different religions and being raised in different religions, their relationship was quite difficult. And so they ended up eloping, and you know, it's a long, actually kind of cool story, well, at least to me. But the end result is that they're both pretty atheist, and I was raised in an atheist household, and so you know, I'm always a bit humbled by people that left religion on their own, because you know, for all you know, I could have been raised Christian, and I'd be, you know, adminning the Christian coalition group, you know, right now, and having a hangout with a bunch of Catholics and Protestants. Who knows? But you know, yeah. So the answer to that question is no. I was most definitely not raised religious. What my parents did do at some point was that they gave me a set of different holy books, and they asked me to read them all, and to kind of decide on my own. So there was never a drive towards, you know, you need to be an atheist, you know, son. It was never like that. It was just, you know, if I were to decide to believe in a religion, they would have maybe not supported it, but accepted it. But there was definitely no inclination towards one religion over the other. So yeah.
That was really good of your parents. I think that's just an awesome thing to do for kids. Give them books, let them read. Let them make their own choices. One thing that I like to do with my kids is teach them how to think. So if they really like something, I like to ask them why they like it. And just little things like that, you know, really helps children kind of understand how to think. So I think it's really cool what your parents did. And Armin, I know a lot of people love to hear about you and your past and everything. Were you raised religious?
My parents called themselves Muslims, but they didn't practice Islam at all, other than my mom praying sometimes for us, or donating to a specific imams, just to get her way with different things. But I wasn't religious, but because my parents weren't religious that much. But when I went to school, my religious teachers were very inspiring to me. So I started becoming very religious, and I tried to convince my parents to become more religious. I was worried that they're not praying and they're going to go to hell. So I became very annoying, and I kept every day kept on trying to get them to pray and take Islam more seriously, and they didn't like it at all. But eventually, when I studied my religion and I decided that it's all BS, at first, when I became an atheist, my parents were happy that they don't have a fundamentalist in their home anymore. But then when I started becoming vocal about that, they became even more worried, because now they were worried about my safety, because I couldn't keep my mouth shut, and this was in Iran, and going from Islam to atheism, if you're not private about it, could get you into serious trouble. So yeah, eventually when I left Iran, um, they were happy that I'm safe. But also, and I just want to add this very quickly. Uh, another thing, before I became very religious, before I believed in God, and I didn't want to I didn't want to practice Islam. I thought before the age of maturity, I realized that if I die, I will go to heaven without having to. Here's the thing: in Islam, if you die before the age of 15 as a boy, and if you die before the age of 9 as a girl, you go to heaven, because sinning starts counting after the age of 15 for boys and after the age of 9 for girls. So before those ages, you're completely 100% pure. Other Islamic schools teach it a little bit differently, but that's how it was taught to me. So I thought that this is an obvious loophole that I could take advantage of. So I decided to basically just die and not stick around to see if I'm going to end up in hell or heaven. And to be honest, I didn't understand why nobody else does it. Like, why would people risk going to hell forever instead of just checking out early and not playing this stupid game that nobody ever asked me if I want to play it or not? So I basically jumped out of my high school window and landed on cement floor, and from the second level of my high school, but that wasn't high enough, and I ended up breaking my ankle, my leg, my arm, and also damaged my back, and I was in a wheelchair for 7 months. So that my plan didn't work. I was trying to die. I wasn't depressed or anything. I just was trying to avoid going to hell. And then when I would have tried it again, but when I saw what it did to my parents when they got so depressed about it, I decided not to do that to them again. And then when I reached 15, I was like, okay, now I have to go all in and try to avoid hell by following God's law instead of checking out early. So that was my story.
And I remember reading that story on an AR newsletter, and it made me cry. I felt so sorry for you, like, because I know so many kids, like how I was terrified of hell, and people just don't get it, and it was just so. Oh man, it was awful. But that's another thing that we do, by the way, for everyone who is watching this. Subscribe to our AR newsletter, because it's awesome, and we tell awesome stories like that. And Willie, what about you? Were you raised religious?
Willie's mic is still off.
Unmute yourself.
All right. My parents have never been practicing religion in most of my life. I have an interesting story from when I was very young, though. 3 years old, probably 4. There was a cult near my hometown, well, about 50 miles into the wilderness from my hometown, which in Alaska is nearby. And we actually ended up out there living with them for a short time, you know, probably less than a year, and they were one of those groups that was all about beating the sin out of your kids and stuff. And my dad wasn't really down with that. He wanted to belong to something. They both did. They wanted to be a part of this group of people, but some of the things they were about they weren't really going for it. And what happened was that my mom got appendicitis, and they're a long ways from a hospital, about 150 miles from a hospital, and they wanted to pray over and just let her die, and they were basically keeping us hostage there until my dad got violent and basically took the truck and said, "We're leaving, and anyone that stops us is going down." And he took us out of there and got her to the doctor and saved her life. And so it's kind of, they were a branch from the Jim Jones people. They sent some people from San Francisco down to Guyana, where Jonestown happened, and some other people from there went north to Alaska, and they're still there. But they had a watered down version, and nothing real bad has ever happened there. Well, no, one kid did die from a complication that could have easily been treated, and they got charged. I don't remember what the result of that was, but anyway, personally, I never could believe it. You know, it always fell right in the same parameters as Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. I might have believed it when I was 5 or 6 or something, but I can't really remember believing it. The one time in my life when I was a true believer actually happened when I was 28, and I had a mental breakdown at the point of becoming sober, and life was some big emotional things were happening with a relationship, and I had one of those experiences, one of those religious experiences where I could only describe it as having met God. I felt like I had been shown things within my own mind that a God wanted me to see. I couldn't frame it any other way. I had no other way to comprehend what had happened to me. And it's an event that actually changed my life, even though it the belief only lasted for a couple months until I had reasoned it to be the results of a tortured brain, and got past the literal belief, you know, convinced myself that what I saw wasn't true, or the way I perceived it wasn't real, and was an atheist again. But for a couple months there, I was a true dyed-in-the-wool, born-again theist, and it was such a powerful experience. It was completely beyond my ability to resist it at the time. And just knowing that such an experience can happen and knowing what it's like when it does, I think is enlightening when you're talking to other theists and they use what their evidence is I know it in my heart, I feel it, that doesn't mean anything to other people, but I understand why it means so much to them. It's really hard to resist that kind of what they think is knowledge. You can't think of it any other way when you're in it. So anyways, after that I was again atheist and didn't know any other atheists really, but only since coming to AR have I started talking to other atheists, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you've been really awesome. I think for us here, you're kind of our icon in AR. I think it's really cool. Um, since we have about 10 minutes left, I'm going to ask Armin a question that a lot of people really want to know the answer to. How did AR begin?
Oh, AR began with, um, well, I started a community originally on Orkut because when I became an atheist, I felt very lonely. I didn't know how many, if there are many other atheists. Originally it was intended to, I was just creating an online community for people in Iran to see if there's other people like me in Iran. And then when I started it, without even me marketing it or promoting it, so many other Iranian atheists joined it, and we were all very surprised to find each other and to see how many of us were there. And we were very happy that we are there. And the feeling was, the sense of community, the sense of, it felt like we found a new family. And it grew really fast, and then I realized that this must be an issue in many other places as well. Like if we are atheists in Iran and we don't know that there are so many other atheists in Iran, other countries, atheists in other countries must be experiencing the same thing. So we created a bigger group, and then when Orkut is like used to be a online social media before Facebook got popular. And then when Facebook got popular, we abandoned our community there and we moved to Facebook and we started Atheist Republic. And that grew by itself very fast. And for a while, Facebook was very kind to us because I don't know why, but Facebook kept on recommending Atheist Republic, the Atheist Republic page to everybody for free. As soon like anybody that had any atheism related interest, like if anybody had read God Delusion or had liked anything atheism related, they kept on saying Atheist Republic as a recommended page to them. So that's why our page got exponentially grow much faster. And I think one thing that made our page very active was because we didn't ban theists on it. A lot of other atheist pages at the time, they kept on banning anybody that came down preaching, but we let them there, and because atheists came to our page to respond to these people, the high engagement made Facebook consider our page a very interesting page. That's why I kept on recommending it to more people, because the more people commented and they had debated with each other, the more in Facebook algorithm, that would be counted as something that is a high engaging page. That's why our page was always being recommended. So that's why the policy of not banning people just because they have opposing views really helped us grow fast.
Yeah, I think that's something that we still really appreciate about the page. A lot of people in our closed group want the theists to stay because they want some kind of debate they want to discuss, and that's one thing that us as admins we don't even play around with that. We pretty much let people know if you do want to engage with theists, you're always welcome on the AR main page.
Yeah, actually, that's if people are asking how the private group started, that's actually a response to. At first, we only had the public page, and a lot of atheists on the public page were saying, like, you know what, I'm coming to this page because I want to talk to atheists. I don't want to come here to talk to theists. But a lot of other atheists are like, no, I actually come here to respond to theists. So we thought, like, what do we do? So we started the private group in response to that. We're like, okay, here's a place only for atheists. The page is going to be a place for anybody and everybody, and the private group is going to be only for atheists. So basically, that way we didn't have to come up with we didn't have to abandon half of our fans. We just created two different environments, one for each.
All right. So another really good question that people want to know. Oh. Sorry, Andrew, were you talking?
Yeah. I just wanted to add to something that Armin said, and so how I discovered AR was from the main page, and then there were a bunch of people that would post there fairly regularly, and after a while you start to recognize the names. And so what happened was that spin-off groups started being created. So a lot of people started setting up groups where they would pick and choose people that they had seen on threads or interacted with or engaged with or whatever, like-minded people, and you'd end up in these groups that were total spin-offs from the IR page. And so, and yeah, just a second, guys. Yep, sorry about that. So, so what ended up happening is that at some point, I remember one of the groups that I had formed, Armin was actually brought into the group, and we were all, starstruck, because here was a guy who had started the AR page, and that's actually when some of us, I can't remember, I think there were 2 of us in that group that were asked to admin the private group, which was a pretty big deal considering that at the time, I think the page had something like 500,000 likes. I don't remember how many it had, but it was a fairly large group. And so I jumped at the opportunity. But the point being behind this somewhat long-winded story is that even before there was a private group, there were people coming together as a result of interacting on that page, and coming together and forming groups that were atheist-only groups. And so I think it was a pretty organic thing. Bound to happen at some point, and that's exactly what did happen.
And that was perfect, Andrew. Thank you. A lot of people want to know how us admins came to find the Atheist Republic. Looks like you've been here from the very start. And another question they want to know in addition to that is what made you decide to take an official role here? So you were kind of touching on that, but was there anything that really made you say, like, wow, I really want to spend all this time adminning this group? What was your encouragement behind saying yes to that?
I'll make it quick because I think other people have more interesting answers to this question. But I didn't know what I was getting into, honestly. So the first time I accepted, I said, sure, why not? I was already admin in another group, and that group only had about 100 people in it. And so there really isn't much moderating to do when it's 100 people. It's much more intimate, if you can use that word on the internet. But and then I said, fine, yeah, sure, I'll definitely take a shot at moderating this group. And then it just kind of grew on me. So it wasn't really a decision where, for some of you guys, maybe the more recent admins, where you kind of knew what you were getting into. You understood the size of the group and how much time it would require. So it's a much more informed and educated opinion, or rather decision. And so I'm much more interested in finding out why you guys made that decision, because you guys kind of knew what you were getting into, while as I did not. That said, I'm glad I did, but I definitely think you guys have more interesting answers to this question. So I'm interested to hear it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to choose Miguel to answer why he wanted to admin for AR. And then I think we should probably talk about doing another one of these because we have a lot of questions still unanswered. So Miguel, can you go ahead and answer that question?
For a long time I didn't want to. I was worried that I had the same worry that Andrew had of would I go absolutely insane and start just like kicking everybody out and banning everybody just because I didn't like the face. I am a bit of an argumentative son of a bitch sometimes, and I always worried about would I be able to remain objective and be seen as objective by members, and I suppose sometimes I'm probably not. And then when the big ask came out of us all as council members, we were all asked, do you want to be admins? I thought, oh, well, go on, why the hell not? A lot of group members seem to want me to be an admin. And I just thought, well, I'll give it a try, and I suppose if it doesn't feel right, I'll just stop doing it. And so far it seems to be working okay. People seem to like having somebody who'll call somebody out if they're being a bit of an asshole and will take action if necessary. So at the moment it seems to be okay. But yeah, I think I think if you're sitting there and you're desperate to be an admin, you're desperate to be an admin, and you want to be in charge, then you're probably the wrong sort of person to be asked to be an admin. I think that goes without saying.
I definitely agree.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you for that, Miguel. So that's going to wrap it up for us this time. There are still a lot of questions that we didn't get to. I think that we'll talk about possibly doing this again because it's been a lot of fun getting to know everybody, and maybe next time we can have different admins on to answer different questions as well. Armin, do you want to say anything before we go?
No, I just want to say that when we go off air, we still stay online for anybody that wants to talk more. So stick around if you want to debate anything else.
All right, that's it.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank you.